Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be doing a Halloween recipe and I'm going to show you how to make a brain cake. So let's get started. So I don't think we could make a brain cake out of anything other than red velvet. So I'm going to start by making the red velvet spun. Start by adding my sugar and my cooking margarine to my bowl. And I'm going to mix that on high until it's light and fluffy, which usually takes 2 to 3 minutes. So that's nice and combined now. I'm going to start mixing my dry ingredients. We're going to use a sieve for this. So I've got my self-raising flour with a pinch of salt. And you can find the full quantities in the description down below. And I'm also going to be adding in some lovely cocoa powder. And set that aside for a minute. I'm just going to mix together my wet ingredients. So for this recipe we're going to use buttermilk. It's very traditional in a red velvet cake. And to that I'm going to be adding about a tablespoon of vanilla extract. And we're also going to add here our red food colouring. And what this will do, it will mean that the red will get distributed more evenly throughout the batter. Set that to one side. So I'm going to add to my butter sugar mix now 2 of my eggs. And a little tablespoon or so of my dry ingredients just to stop the mix from curdling. And I'm going to give that a good mix on high. And while it's mixing, I'm just going to incorporate the other 2 eggs once these ones are fully incorporated. I'm going to give everything a good scrape down. And then I'm going to add in about half of my dry ingredients. And mix it on low. And if like mine, yours looks a bit worrying and a bit curdled, don't worry, it will come back together like mine has. And then I'm going to add in all my buttermilk and my red food colouring and my vanilla and the rest of my dry ingredients. And just mix that on low again. Just going to finish this last bit off by hand. And the last thing we need to make this red velvet cake is what makes it a red velvet cake, which is bicarb and vinegar mixed together. See that activating? You tip that in. Screw quite quickly now to get it into the oven. And that's what gives the red velvet its unique flavour. Because we're making a brain, I'm using an 8-inch half sphere cake. If you don't have that, you could just use 8-inch rounds and then cut it into that half sphere shape. I'm going to put this in a preheated oven at 170 degrees fan for around 30 to 40 minutes. I'll start checking it at 30 minutes, seeing if it's done. So I've got my cake out of the oven. It did start to catch just ever so slightly at the top, so I had to cook it for about 40-45 minutes to cook through. But I'm just going to trim that off. So I'm just going to turn it out. There we are. The start of a beautiful brain cake. So just while our cake's cooling, I'm going to start on the cream cheese frosting. I'll start by adding my butter. We don't need a lot of frosting for this recipe because we're going to be covering the outside with fondant brain matter. But I do want a little bit of cream cheese frosting for the inside and just a light coating for the outside. I've got my cream cheese and my butter and I'm just going to mix them on high for a couple of minutes so they're fully combined and light and fluffy. So that's well combined. I'm going to add in half my icing sugar now. And this is a little bit more icing sugar than I would normally use, just because the cream cheese can make your icing a bit soft otherwise. Full quantities, as always, will be down below. And a squirt of vanilla. Always forget that. And I'm going to add the rest of the icing sugar. Yeah, so cream cheese frosting made. So I'm just going to start by taking off the top layer of the cake, which got a little bit caught with the oven, and smoothing it out as well, flattening it out even. And then I'm going to cut the cake in half as well. So I'm taking it all the way around, just cutting in a little bit, keeping the knife nice and flat. And then as I go around, I should be able to cut all the way through and have a nice even cut. There we are. So I'm going to add some of our cream cheese buttercream to my cake stand. Put my first layer of cake. And I'm going to just fill the centre with some more buttercream. I'm going to put the top on now. And then this doesn't really look like a brain shape at the moment, so I'm just going to carve down the sides, give it a bit more of a brain shape. And I'm just going to cut a sort of V out at the top, going all the way from front to back for the two sides of the brain, just to separate it. Right, so I'm just going to clean up all the cake crumbs and then we'll come back and we'll do our first coat of buttercream. So I'm going to just do a light coating of frosting. Don't worry too much about the crumbs and things because we're going to be covering it all with fondant. So I've just got a flexi smoother just to smooth off some of this buttercream. And just get that centre dip back. Yeah, so I'll pop this back in the fridge and then we'll be able to come back and put fondant on it. I ended up leaving the cake in the fridge overnight because I didn't realise how late it had got. So I need to actually move the cake off my cake stand onto another one because I forgot to put the little lobes that are at the back of your head or the back of your brain under the cake, so we'll do that first. So I'm just going to make like a rough shape. I'm going to make another one to match the opposite. And then sort of like lumps. There. I'm just going to draw some sort of lines randomly. And I'm just going to bring in my cake stand and sort of stick them down. That's going to give our brain a little bit of height as well. The same for this one. There's no board under my cake, so I'm just going to slide underneath it as best I can. Lift it off and pop it on top of my little lobes. Okay, so set that to one side, and then what we're going to do is make lots and lots of little sausages to make our brain. Don't have to be too fussy about length or anything like that. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm just going to basically just wrap it around, and you just want to keep your line up the middle because brains do have quite a distinctive line. And I'm going to repeat that all over. This is actually a really nice simple cake to decorate. Lots of practice in making sausages. So I finished putting all the fondant on now. I'm just going to use my Dresden tool just to press out some of my loops to make them look a little bit more realistic. So our brain's looking pretty good, but we need to make it spooky for Halloween. And for that, I've got some edible blood. If you want to see how I made this, you can hit the card up there. The recipe will be in the description down below. So I'm basically just going to drizzle on quite a lot of this. And then use a pastry brush to brush into all the nooks and crannies. And don't worry about being too neat with the blood, because we're going to have a little pool around the brain as though it's just been ripped out. Just to finish off, I'm just going to add a little bit of blood to the board, sort of strategically dripped around the place. And I like to add some severed fingers and some eyeballs and things to this as well. Depends how gory you want to get. And that is our brain cake complete. Woo! I absolutely love this. I think it's so spooky, ready for Halloween, and it can be a little bit scary for people as well, which I absolutely love. I'll just get a knife and we can have a taste. My little piece of cake. Let's have a taste, get a bit of that cream cheese frosting. And the cheese cream frosting obviously goes perfectly with it. Well, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see any more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you all next time. Have a lovely Halloween. Bye!